All right, friends, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to do something a little bit different. Not different in terms of we're going to be focusing on club speed, which you've seen me do here before, but different from the perspective of it's not going to be just a clean cut tip or instructional video. Hopefully, it's going to be educational for you. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a look, or I'd like to think a behind the scenes look at what I'm doing to gain club speed in my own swing. I'll save it for a separate video, kind of the breakdown of how I've got here, but I'm actively speed training as consistently as I can with a baby at home and a full-time job. I'm a full-time teaching instructor or teaching professional, which does make this a little easier for me. But yeah, I started off when I got back into this, I was probably peaking my speeds around 122, 123. This is with a standard length shaft, so about 45 and a half inches or so. And now we're up to about 138. This past Sunday, I got to 138.4. In today's speed training session, I'm hoping to get to 140. But what this video is going to be is I got a nice long gap in between lessons today. We're going to start with some of the things I'm doing here in the golf simulator to speed train, both just kind of footage of me doing it, and I'm going to add some detail of what I'm thinking about, what I'm working on from a technique perspective to get faster. And then after that, we're going to head down to the gym, and I'm going to cover what I do in the gym, exercise, workout wise, to add speed and kind of build up my capacity to swing faster and do some things just for mobility and injury prevention, hopefully. All right, let's dive in. All right, and away we go with our speed training footage. Now, before we go any further, I respect the fact this is a longer video. It's the longest one I've posted to the channel so far, upwards of 20 minutes. And while I would so appreciate anyone who is really interested to sit down and watch the whole thing, I'd like to think that some of you want to do that. But if you're here for specific things, let me help you out, okay? The top set, when I peak my speeds, I believe it was working set number 5, that's going to happen around the 10-minute, 35-second mark. And if you're here primarily for the gym footage and what I'm doing for a workout to improve my club speed, you could feel free to skip ahead to about the 16-minute mark where we're down in the gym. Okay, now, what are we seeing here in front of us? I call this a priming set. My philosophy on how I can ramp speed is constantly evolving. I'm always looking at what the fastest swingers in the world are doing, and I'm also at times looking outside of golf when it comes to the physical fitness side of things in terms of how we can train for rotational power. But in this priming set, what you're seeing me do are these freezer or pause swings. I'm trying to arrive in the left leg, my lead leg, at the top of the backswing. You could probably see it ready coming up right now. I'm freezing, stop, go. Okay, what this lets me do is if I arrive in my left leg, little quick pause, caffeine is a very important part of this program as well. I added a little clip of me sipping the coffee there. With a baby at home and not getting to sleep, sometimes I'd like to. Caffeine is a huge part of this program. Okay, so I'm starting even these later sets as well. You could see I started with, I'm falling behind a bit here, but these freezer priming swings. So I arrive in the left leg by the top of the backswing, and that gives me the entirety of the downswing to push hard off that lead leg to create power. What we know is the world's fastest swingers create tremendous amounts of ground reaction force, especially vertical ground reaction force through the lead leg. And as I've evaluated myself in terms of how I can add speed, I feel as though this is one of the areas that I have a lot of room to grow and get better and better and better. Ball came off the tee there. Happy I was able to hit the brakes, not hurt myself. So yeah, I want to arrive on that left leg. And if I'm going to get even more specific here, one thing that's not easy for me to do, but I'm always working on is you'll see that left heel come into the air as I make a really full turn at the top of the backswing. What I'm trying to do is land with that left heel closer to the target. That creates a larger torque force up the leg just for greater amounts of speed and power. So that's what's happening there. And I definitely am a believer that speed comes from the ground up. So let's take this a step further. Beyond just trying to arrive in that left leg, if we go up the chain a bit here, I'm trying to feel a huge turn in my core, in the trunk there, massive amounts of rotation, a huge arc. There's two ways to increase your speed. Increase the force you're applying within that swing arc, or increase the length of the swing arc, giving you more time to apply force, right? I don't see why we wouldn't try and max out both of those things. Decel swings. Now, I'm battling a little bit of right shoulder tendonitis, and as I tried to swing fast lefty here, I could feel that. But there's definitely some merit to training your opposite side for power and speed. The deceleration principle basically says that, the muscles that would fire a left-handed swing for me as a right-handed golfer are the same muscles that would slow down and absorb the forces I create with my right-handed swing. And your brain is hardwired to not let your body hurt itself. So it's only going to let you swing as fast as it knows it can handle or absorb that force on the back end of it. So when you fire your left-handed swing that much harder, it neurologically convinces your brain you're able to handle larger amounts of force when you go to that right-handed swing. I'm a TPI certified power specialist, or whatever they would call it. And the example they used when they were teaching us this concept were defensive backs, especially cornerbacks in the NFL, and how that is the fastest position on average every year. And they believe it's because that position is the only one that spends large amounts of time running fast-paced or full sprint backwards and then turning around and running full sprint forwards. So the muscles in the front of their body that power, the muscles in the front of their body that power a rearward sprint or a backward sprint are the same muscles that slow down their forward sprint. And again, it's the same concept. It allows them to fire that much harder when they're going forwards. All right, cool. So back to what I'm talking about in terms of my own technique and how I'm trying to add speed. So trying to turn the trunk or core more. When we get to the gym, you're going to see some stuff I'm trying to do to stretch myself out and add rotational mobility, because we want a big arc, but we're not looking just to break down the hands and arms to create that length. We want to really try and stretch the core and create that. I'm not going to use any terms I'm not 100% positive on, but the bigger you can make that turn and coil up in the core, the larger amounts of force and the bigger arc that you're creating all at the same time. Okay. With that being said, when I get to the top of the backswing, I am trying to feel, it's hard because you're trying to swing so fast that you don't want to waste any time. You don't want to go slow, but there's a little bit of a balancing act here to be had where you're trying to feel a little bit of stretch at the top. I feel like I can feel it in my lats because I'm turned and my hands are up above me, above my head. So feeling that slight stretch and transition, I think allows us to go a little deeper and to gather ourselves to come back in the opposite direction with that much more force. So just a big turn of the core, feeling a stretch at the top. If I go up the chain a little bit more, what's definitely helping is trying to feel, to start the swing, and the early takeaway, that my left shoulder is moving more downward, more of a vertical downward shoulder turn. And that helps me track my hands higher. I do think a higher hand path can provide larger amounts of power. So left shoulder down, hands high is how I'm getting started with all these. And that proved really, really helpful. Pardon me, grabbing some water there. All right, so left shoulder down, hands high. And I'm going to come back around to that left shoulder. But the next thing I want you to start paying attention to here is what's going on at setup. I continued to do these before I get into the setup stuff. 123.5. I think that was the fastest freezer I did. And I'm trying to start each one of these sets with that same freezer drill that you saw from the priming set. The idea is I'm trying to continue to feel that through my swing. But as I get deeper and deeper into this speed training session, I'm trying to push harder and harder and harder. And anyone should expect that as you try and redline and push yourself harder, your form's going to break down. So the happy medium I'm trying to strike here is start each set with that move again to kind of reprime myself and really get the feeling of pushing hard through that left leg through the entirety of the downswing. And just push from there in each successive rep until I run out of steam or run out of golf balls there, depending on how I'm managing these sets. Earlier in the session, I had 7 balls randomly in the simulator, and that just sounded like a nice number. So I was sticking to sets of 7. I'm not sure if it was here or that next working set, set 5, where we peak the speeds. At one point, I just decided, like, the heck with it. I'm going to start hitting as many balls as I can here in the session because I could feel myself slowly tiring, but I could also feel myself peaking the speed. So I could almost feel, if this makes sense, the window closing on me a little bit. And I just wanted to fire away to see where we could get it to. At this stage in the game, I was getting a little bit nervous that I wasn't going to be able to break my previous PR, which not every day is going to be a top set, or you're not going to PR every session, but certainly the fire in your belly to attempt to do that each session. These are violent swings, and this is kind of where you're tapping into a lot of this power benefit is you got to be pushing yourself. It's the same thing if you go to the gym and do like medicine ball throws or whatever. Like you really need to be violent with it, because the harder you go, the more you're going to get out of it. You have to push up against the wall that's holding you at your current level of speed. And the more you push into it, the more you're going to move that wall up and up and up. I can tell you that from firsthand experience just doing this. Not every session's been a PR, but I'll tell you, it's a thrill when you get there. So back to what I'm talking about at setup. I once heard Bryson refer to it as a neurological ramp up. But for sure, I don't look still over the ball. I'm not a statue, right? I would call those power waggles. I'm really trying to fire the system up. I would almost say that I'm trying to feel like a tea kettle, coming and steaming up, coming to boil or whatever. So you want a lot of life in your system before the club even comes back. I think I mentioned it probably in previous videos, but one of the simplest things you can do to add speed is to swing the club back faster. And there's a balance to be had there. If you overdo it, you'll lose control and you won't be able to regather yourself at the top. But swing back fast, and it's not easy to swing back fast. It's certainly not natural to swing back fast if you're not moving over the ball. And the movement I see over the ball, I feel like should replicate how hard you're trying to hit the ball. So if you're hitting a putt or a chip, we really don't want to see much movement at all. If there is movement, it should be very mild, chilled out. But here, I am going for broke. I'm not looking at a tracer, right? We're literally just trying to peak speeds, because anytime I would be trying to hit a shot at a target, it would obviously be much slower than this, more controlled. But again, we're functionally training for the task at hand, and for here, it's max speed. Now, this is set 5. I'm pretty sure we're getting close to tapping into the top set here. Or this is the top set, the top reps, the peak speeds. We got one at 139 and one at 139.5, which are my fastest so far with standard length shafts. Back to one thing that really drove this here. At the end, I was hyper focused on the way my left shoulder traveled through the swing. Okay, so I mentioned earlier, I want the left shoulder going down as the hands go up. And then as that left shoulder goes down, I'm trying to push it rotationally as far as I can into the backswing. That is going to blend right into this transitional move I've been working on to land back in that lead leg. As soon as I land back in that lead leg, I'm going to push like a mother to power this left shoulder back around the arc. So you can sort of see in the swing, the left shoulder gets well underneath my chin. But then at the end, it's way back behind my ears, right? So the further you can push that left shoulder behind you from the ground up, I actually think the faster you can go. So as I was going like psycho mode at the end here, just seeing red, my singular thought was trying to track that left shoulder as deep around in both sides of the rotation as possible. Now, I think we're getting very close here to the 139s. Let's see. This might be it right here. I think it is. Boom. All right, cool. Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. I was trying to, just stay in the moment, because sometimes I celebrate and I feel like I don't go any faster because I kind of just took time to enjoy what happened. So here I tried to keep pushing 139.5. That was the fastest. I wanted 140 so freaking bad. But I can tell you that at this point we were feeling super, super fatigued. And ultimately, you're going to do more harm than good when you're trying to push these speeds. They're not going up. I really felt, just knowing my body at this point, that if I had continued to push, they probably would have slowly but surely gone down. And if you're pushing speeds with high levels of fatigue, you're just going to build bad habits for no good reason. Okay, so as you speed train here, you'll learn, what everything feels like for you. But the benefit is coming from when you're fresh and you can push the highest levels of speed. Once you're fatigued, you could do some decent strength work in the gym. You could obviously work on your swing from a precision accuracy standpoint, but we'll stop here and we'll listen to Dan.
All right, gang. We are freaking knocking on the door of 140. I can taste it, okay? Now, when I started this speed journey, I remember way back in the day, I saw Kyle Berkshire, when at the time he was the king of speed. He's still absolutely one of the best in the world, fastest swingers, incredible athlete. I remember him saying how he could get to 140 with his playing driver, right? So stock length, 45.5, which is what I'm using here. This is a Project X Hazardous Silver 50 grand, 5.5 regular. This is not what I would use on the course, obviously. I use an extra stiff 60 gram. I'm going to have an unboxing video with my new clubs for the year coming up to you guys soon. But I promised myself I would get to 140 club speed before I started tinkering with the longer equipment. I got some long shafts and some long drive heads. I'm really up in the air after this 139.5. So let me know in the comments whether you think I should stick to my word and try and carve out another 0.5 with the regular length shaft, or do you want to see me start tinkering with the long stuff sooner? We'll just round this up to 140 and go from there. So let me know what you think. And this will do it for the time in the sim. It's going to be a longer video for sure. Following this, we're going to go downtown to the gym I go to, Oculus Fitness, which is down in the financial district. I'm here in Midtown here at the Grand Central location of 5 Iron. So if you want to check out the gym content, stick with me. We are headed downtown. See you there. All right, gang. We are downtown here at Oculus Fitness in the financial district. Finished up speed training, 139.5. Stoked about that. PR, not 140, but again, let me know in the comments if you think I should just round that up and start pushing longer equipment, or whether I should stick to my word and wait out for that 140 even. So either way, I'm going to throw my shoes on, slam my pre-workout here. I'm going to show you how I get warmed up. And then the majority of the workout is a combination of plyometrics, jumping, and different kind of weightlifting. A lot of lower half stuff, obviously core, back. And then I love the idea of doing speed bench pressing for part of the program, but I'm battling some right shoulder tendonitis right now. So I'll pull the bar out, just move the bar, see how that feels. If it feels good, we'll push weight until it doesn't feel good. But listen to your body when you're doing this kind of stuff. An injury sets you back way more than that day's gains will push you forward. Okay. All right. Let's take a dive in.
All right. We're down at Oculus and we're warming up for our speed workout. Or I guess it's not a speed workout. It's a workout focused on trying to build up my club head speed. Some things will be fast. Some things will be not fast, moving heavier weights. What you see me doing here, this is called the crossover symmetry system, I think. But essentially, these are just bands that help me get the shoulders warmed up. I think the shoulder girdle is a hyper important part of a golfer's body, especially if you're training for power and speed. You're asking your arms and shoulders to produce large amounts of force that you get thrown out in front of your body. So for the most part, everything you see me doing here is activating rear delts, traps, rhomboids, the upper back shoulder area right there, because that, in my opinion, is very easy to neglect. And when you're speed training and then hopping in here and trying to throw weights around, inevitably, I think that's an area of the body that could be vulnerable. So that upper back shoulder girdle area, I'm big on. As you've already heard me mention, I got some shoulder tendonitis, so this helps me get even more prepped. And that was really all I'm doing for the upper half in terms of warming up. I've already stretched and done my swings at 5 Iron, so I don't need as much stretching if I had not done that. Now we're doing plyo, and just box jumps is usually what I go for to warm up the lower half. What you can see me doing there is some rotational box jumps. And what I do is I try and start with the 20-inch side of it, and then we just slowly work our way up. So 20, then you flip that sucker around, it goes to 24. I try and do the rotational box jumps on the 20 and 24 so I can feel similar things. That's what happen, or I could feel similar things to what's happening as I'm trying to ramp up speed in my golf swing, because obviously you're trying to use your feet and legs to rotate against the ground, push laterally, push vertically. For the most part, lots of that's happening in here when you're doing these rotational box jumps. So I think there's some good carryover there. And then what I do at the very end is I'll flip it up to 30 inches. And I just go straight up on 30. I would say a good goal, though, is if I feel like I can eventually get rotational jumps onto this 30-incher, that's going to be, for me, I'm going to feel very impressed with myself. And that should mean that I should be able to swing that much faster. But for now, I think psychologically, just convincing myself, I've done it a bunch now, and each time I try and jump onto that 30-inch box, I'm still intimidated. You can kind of see it always takes a little bit of convincing, but it's nice when you get up on there. It really helps you believe you're getting more and more fast twitch. Okay, so Olympic lifting for club speed. I'm becoming a massive believer in it. Now, I am not a fitness professional. I'm a TPI certified guy, and I do a lot of my own independent research. And I'm just using myself. Oh, there was a great song on at the time. Don't judge my dance moves there. But I'm a big believer in using myself as like a human experiment to see what can really generate large amounts of speed. I've consulted with a lot of different people. Andrew, who owns the gym, has helped me with my programming a ton. And we're just convinced that these cleans are going to have an enormous carryover. So the complex that I've been doing are you're seeing a clean pull. So it's almost just like a speed deadlift off the ground. Then I'm doing a hang power clean from there. That was 155. That was real sloppy. So I think I did this one again to try and clean it up. My all-time high so far is 185. I just started power cleaning about 4 or 5 months ago. What I love about it is it's a technical movement that requires rhythm. Does it sound like something that's familiar? Maybe the golf swing. So it gets me back into this beginner mindset where I'm really trying to work technique and then also apply power within sort of this, rhythmical movement. It's not like the squats and other things that we're grinding out. Now, onto the squats. I haven't shown as much of them. I've already did these in little shorts or whatever, but I'm a huge believer in this power contrast concept. So do something heavy, then do something fast. And I love doing it with my lower half. So what you're seeing here is a couple different sets of barbell back squats into these box jumps. I work out in a CrossFit gym, so I don't have leg presses and all the machines that some other gyms have. But what I love about barbell back squats, or you could get the same thing out of a front squat for sure, is the dynamic trunk control that forces, right? So I think you're doing a ton for your back and core on top of just the leg strength you're getting out of that. Now, this I think is going to be an absolute game changer. Shout out to Ryan Krauser, who's the world record holder in shot put. It's his Instagram page where I saw these and I messed around with it. Holy cow, does this stretch out your core, obliques, lats. And I mentioned earlier, I'm trying to feel a huge stretch in my core as I coil up in my golf swing. I believe this exercise right here is going to have an enormous carryover into how big of an arc I can create in my swing. Bigger the arc, bigger the speed. And then this is just suitcase carries or, single arm farmer's carries. I love to throw a resistance band around the kettlebell. It really keeps you honest. That bell's bouncing around and you have to stabilize it. All right.
Okay, friends, that's going to wrap up today's video. We just finished up in the gym here. I hope you found that somewhat informative, maybe a little bit entertaining. What I did not include in the gym footage were bent over barbell rows. I like to speed bench press. Didn't do that today because the shoulder's feeling a little off. We're just going to wait for that to come back. And I did assisted pull-ups. I'm a believer in a 2-to-1 ratio of pulling to pushing for your golf power. So if you like the video, please give me a like or a thumbs up on the bottom there. Huge help if you want to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to keep pushing my speed no matter what, but if you want me to keep documenting it, hopefully you watch the video and it performs well. Until next time, see you soon. Be good.